Good evening, students. Today, before continuing with the signals and systems, I just want to give a brief introduction and demonstration of one more important module of Python, that is SciPy module. So this has got various sub packages which are helpful in uh, computations, technical computation in particular. So what are those sub packages? So these are the some of the sub packages which are very important. So this is the listing of the sub packages and what each of these do. Some of which you can understand are SciPy FFT pack is used for Fourier transform, and for all physical and mathematical constants there is a sub package SciPy dot constants, and you can even share these Python files with other software packages like MATLAB, etc. So that we can do using this SciPy IO, and even we can input the MATLAB file into the Python, and we can proceed with the processing of it. So this ND image processing, SciPy.ND n-dimensional image, then optimize, then signal processing, SciPy.signal. Like this, we have various sub packages of SciPy. So in that, see, this is SciPy.io, which is used for working with different formats of the files in these some of these packages, software packages outside of Python, from which we can either import or export the files and work out. Some of the SciPy packages you can see here. There is a package, SciPy.special. So you can go to this. So this opens the special functions. So here are the various special functions available. You can go to the documentation site and see the various functionalities of all these sub packages. So each of these you can explore, and some of them I'll be using today for demonstration. Okay. So let me share my Jupyter notebook. Okay. So again, to use this module SciPy, we have to import the SciPy. And this module is built on NumPy package. So both combined, they work very wonderfully for scientific computations. So we import NumPy, and let me first import one of the sub package of this SciPy, SciPy.constants, and let me run this cell. Okay, so I have imported NumPy module, and also from SciPy module I have imported the sub package constants. For any sub package, to get the information about that sub package or any function in SciPy or any variable, you can take the help of this help, or you can even take info. So SciPy dot help, and within bracket if you give what about help about what you want to know. Here say for example I have given SciPy dot constants. So this will give me all the information about constants. What are the constants available? And see for example here. See, this gives all the constants related to physics and mathematics. So this is a help on package SciPy.constants in SciPy. This is named by this, and the description is here. See, these are a mathematical constant, then physical constants, a whole list of it. You can just go through this, and whenever you want anything, you can take the help of this and make use of it. And the same thing, same information is given by this info within bracket SciPy.constants. So import SciPy dot info in within bracket SciPy.constant. That also will give the same information as above. Okay, so you can take any sub package and get the information about that. And one more thing is you can even get the source code of that constants also. Say for example here scipy dot source within bracket scipy dot constants. If I run this, so at the end of this list you can see the code for this. So this corresponds to various modules contributed and what is the source code of it. Okay, so that is a basic information about scipy and how to get the information about various subpackages and functions in scipy. So how to use this input output? Imports from, see, any subpackage you want to use, you just have to import that particular subpackage and start using it. So here in this cell I am importing scipy.io as SIO, and along with the numpy already I have imported. So let me run this cell. Then first to demonstrate this IO, I am organizing this arranging as an array numbers from 0 to 5. So this will give me up to 5 minus 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So now I will save this with the name of example.mat in the form of a set, a dictionary with the keyword test and the value given by this array. Okay, so that will give me, okay, this is a MATLAB file. I have saved it as a MATLAB file. Okay, I have saved it and I have retrieved it, load mat example.mat. So this is the information about that array by the name test and the array value is this. Suppose I want to know what is this, who's mat, SIO dot who's mat will give me what this example.mat is. So this is by the variable name test and it is from 1 to 5, one dimensional array with 5 as the array number and it is of the type int32. Okay, so that is about IO function. So next let us see how one more subpackage where we use it for linear algebra. So first let me use it for solving the set of linear equations. I am taking two equations, x plus y is equal to 1 and x plus 3y is equal to 2. Solve for x and y. For that I am importing scipy and subpackage from scipy I am importing linalg. This is linear algebra package where we have already used it in one of our previous problems to find the inverse of a matrix while demonstrating the matrix operations in SymPy module. So this linalg is the linear algebra subpackage of scipy. So to illustrate the solution of these two equations, first I'll arrange these two equations in the form of a vector matrix notation. So the coefficients of x and y in these two equations are organized as, so the first one will have the coefficient of x in both the equations, that is 1, 1 in the form of a list, and the second one will have 1, 3, and that whole thing forms an array, NP array. Using this NP dot array, I am organizing the coefficients of x and y in both the equations. So this is nothing but a matrix of 2 by 2 dimensions. And next the right hand side, 1 and 2 are also organized as an array B. So NP dot array within curved brackets and within the square bracket, I am organizing it as 1, 2. This corresponds to the right hand side of the vector matrix equations having 2 by 1 dimension. First element is 1 and the second row first element is 2. So now our equations 1 and 2 are organized in the form of a vector matrix notation. Now I'll use scipy dot linalg dot solve for A, solve the equations A and B. So now if I run this, I'll get the solution for x as 0.5, y as 0.5. Okay. So these are the solutions of the a set of linear algebraic equations. You can extend it to any number of equations. Only thing is you must bring the constant coefficients of the various variables and then the right hand side also into the form of arrays. Now we can find the determinant of this A. A is a 2 by 2 matrix, consists of 2 by 2 matrix. I can get the determinant by this linalg dot dit, and I can get the inverse by linalg dot inb. So determinant of 1 1 1 3 is 2, and the inverse of that matrix is this much. Okay, so that is about linear algebra sub package of SciPy. Next, let us move on to demonstrate the SciPy.integrate subpackage. So for that, import the subpackage SciPy.integrate. So now I am integrating the expression x square plus 1. So that expression I am writing it as a lambda function. F is equal to lambda with the variable x. The expression is x square plus 1. Now I will give the command SciPy.integrate dot. See, the integration we can do it with many methods. One is the quadratic quad integration. So that is an approximation method for integrating any expression. So quad, then the function you want to integrate and the limits between which you want to integrate. Lower limit first and the upper limit next. So if you integrate this x square plus 1 between limits 0 and 1, you get the answer as 1.3333, and the second element gives the minimum error that is appearing in this integration method, which is almost equal to 0. Okay. So similarly, if you integrate x plus 1 using the same method, you get this as the answer 1.5 and the error is 0. So next up, Fourier transform. Fourier transform packages FFT pack, SciPy.FFT. FFT pack is the subpackage of SciPy which calculates the Fourier transform and also inverse Fourier transform. So import SciPy.FFT pack as FFT, and then let me consider an array x is equal to np.array 1 2 3 4. Then I'll call the FFT of this x as y, that is SciPy.FFT because I'm importing FFT pack as FFT. So this is the first name, short name for FFT pack. Dot FFT is the function that I'm calling to calculate the FFT of this array x. So now I'll get the FFT of this array x, which is a complex one, 10.0 minus 0.1j. These are the complex values. Suppose if I take the inverse FFT of this array, I must get back my original array 1 2 3 4. That is why I'm taking this y to find the IFFT of this, and you see here I got the this is 0.0j. So this is 1 2 3 4, all the imaginary parts are 0. Okay, that is how we get the FFT. Next, interpolation. So for that I have to import the subpackage interpolate from SciPy. So import SciPy.interpolate, and then I want to plot also. First I'll take one curve with few number of points, and then I'll interpolate it with 2 or 3 methods using this SciPy.interpolate and compare the various methods. So for that I have to plot it. So I'm importing the matplotlib.pyplot as plt. And then x-axis I'm taking the time t as a linear space between 0 to 0.02 with the 10 number of points in between. So 0.02 I am taking because I am taking a sinusoidal signal with a frequency 50, so that you will know that this 20 milliseconds is the time for one cycle of this sine wave. Okay. So then f0 is equal to 50. I need not print this. So I am taking the frequency as 50. I am constructing a signal y1 as np.sine of 2 np.pi into f0 into t. So this is 2 pi f0 t sine of that. And then I am plotting t versus y1 with small letter O and with the color K. K is for black. And I am labeling this as y1 so that at the end when I give the legend I'll get this as y1. y1 is my first signal, which is a sinusoidal signal with 10 points in that between 0 to 0.2 seconds. I'll run this. So these are the 10 points plotted using small letter O filled with the color black. So this is the first signal that I am taking. Okay. So now I want to get a signal joining these points using different methods. One is linear interpolation. So between two adjacent points, get the in between points by the method of interpolation, and then get the as exact variation as possible between the two adjacent points. So that we can do it with many methods. One is by linear interpolation. Take two adjacent points very close to each other and approximated by a straight line, that is linear interpolation. And next, quadratic, approximated by a quadratic equation and get the in between points, or cubic equation and then get the in between points. So how to make use of these three types of interpolation methods using SciPy? So I'll designate the three curves that I get after interpolation as y2, y3 and y4. So y2 is SciPy dot interpolate. This is the sub package I'm using, and in that sub package I'm using the function interrupt 1D, that is one dimensional interpolation, because this is a one dimensional figure between the x and y axis of the original signal t comma y1. And what is the type of interpolation is kind is equal to linear. Kind gives the what type of interpolation that I want to method that I want to use for this y2. Similarly for y3, same syntax, SciPy dot interpolate is the SciPy subpackage, and interrupt 1D is the one dimensional interpolation between t and y1 using quadratic interpolation method. Similarly, y4 is the third signal that I am getting using this interpolate subpackage and interrupt 1D between t and y1 using the cubic interpolation. So now I'll generate a new time axis t new given by 0 to 0.02 having more number of points, because I am getting in between points also. No? So I'll increase the number of points to 50 between the 0 to 0.02 seconds. Previously it was only 10. So with that 50 number of points, I'll also give the figure size for plotting 10 by 10 graph sheet. So first one is plt dot plot t comma y1 using this label original. Then plt dot plot, and for the remaining three curves I'll take the time axis as t new, that is having 50 points, and the corresponding yt, y2, y3, y4 with this t new, and I'm plotting with green, black and red, and this one will default blue it will be now, and I'm labeling the three curves also, all the four curves, so that I'll get the, when I execute this plt dot legend, I'll get the legend on the graph sheet with the corresponding color and marking and the name given to that curve. So then plt dot legend and plt dot show. If I execute this, you will see here I got all the four curves. So these blue dots were the original curve, and this green one is the linear interpolation. So between these blue dots you see here, it is interpolated by means of a linear equation. That is why it is a straight line between these 2 points. So every adjacent 2 points are joined by means of straight lines, that is linear interpolation. So next is quadratic, that is used with this black plus notation. So you see here on black we have this cubic, both are almost the same, but you get an somewhat more exact curve compared to linear interpolation. Okay, so because I have taken a sinusoidal signal, so this quadratic and cubic approximations are giving more near to sinusoidal as possible. Okay, so same thing I have plotted as subplots here, so that you will know all the four plots. Okay, so this is the linear interpolation where you find the straight line sections between the adjacent points. So these two are almost same, quadratic and cubic interpolation. That is about a brief description about the some of the subpackages of SciPy. At this point, these will be helpful, and as you start using it, or as you start developing your own projects, you can refer to these modules and get more functionalities and make use of it. Okay, so with this introduction, let me pass on to the next part of the today's class, that is step response and impulse response, and also how to find the stability of the system. So again, I'm using NumPy, SciPy, and to plot I'm using matplotlib.pyplot packages, okay, so, or modules. So importing NumPy as NP, and from SciPy I'm importing the sub package signal, okay, because I want to make use of the step response, impulse response functionalities which are available in the sub package signal. Okay, from SciPy import signal. Okay, so let me run that cell. Okay, first let me find out the impulse response. So this signal dot impulse, you can go to this and find out what it is. So this signal dot impulse takes the argument first. What is the system that you want to get the impulse response of the system, and then the remaining are none are the default keywords arguments. So you need not worry about it. What you need to give is impulse and a system, that's all. Okay, at this point. So in future, as you work it out more, you may require to change these values of this x dot, capital T and capital N from the default none to a suitable value. That time you can go to this guide and refer to that and make changes. Okay, so this is the syntax of this scipy.signal.impulse. So first let me take the transfer function of the system and then give the system in the form of transfer function. Okay, so system is defined by numerator and denominator coefficients given as an tuple list arrays within the tuples. So system 1 is equal to first array gives the numerator coefficients and a second one gives the denominator coefficients. Here this, okay, I'll make it 2, no problem. So first problem is 2 divided by s, this is a second order system, no? 2 divided by s square plus 2s plus 1. So numerator is 2 and denominator in the order of decreasing powers of s, it is 1 comma 2 comma 1. Okay, so this is 2. So now I'll give the impulse response function signal dot impulse for the system 1. What it will output, it will give me time on the y-axis, that I am going to plot it using matplotlib. So this is the impulse response of this second order system. So you see here, it starts from 0, reaches a maximum and then goes to 0 as the time progresses. So transfer function is a 0 initial conditions. This has got 0 initial conditions. That is how we define the transfer function. So when you give an impulse at time t is equal to 0, whatever the response it gives, for a stable system, it must die down to 0. Okay. So similarly, let me take the second transfer function, which is a third order system given by 1 over s cube plus 2s square plus 2s whole square plus 2s plus 1. So for that, I am giving the numerator coefficients is 1, denominator is 1 comma 4 comma 2. 1 comma 4 comma 2 comma 1. Constant value is 1. So this is the transfer function of the system 2, and I am taking the impulse response of the system 2 and plotting the response. Here also you see that this is a stable system. From 0 it goes, oscillates and then finally settles to 0. Okay, that is about impulse response. Next, let me take a step response. So for that, from the signal sub package, get the function signal dot step and then give the system. So what is the nature or syntax of this scipy dot signal dot step? first thing is system, which is mandatory, you have to give, and the remainings you can leave it at the default values. Okay. So after defining the system, get the time and y-axis from the signal dot step for the system 1 given by transfer function 1 by s square plus 2s plus 1 as before. So let me get the step response. So step response from 0, it is increasing to 1 under steady state. So this, the second term, which is 2 zeta tau, is value is 2, indicating that zeta value is 1, which represents a critically damped system. You can make it a underdamped system by making it a fraction 0.2. Let me make it as 0.2. Then an underdamped system will have oscillatory response and then finally settles to 1. So it is a stable second order system with the underdamped condition. I can change this and get the output. Okay, that is the first problem. Second problem, which is 1 over s cube plus 4s square plus 2s plus 1. As for the impulse response, for the same system, I am getting the step response here. You see here, this is also a stable system. To demonstrate the impulse response of a system or step response of a system which is unstable, I have considered here an unstable system with transfer function given by s plus 6 divided by s cube plus s square plus 2s plus 8, where some of the poles are in the right half of s plane, representing an unstable system. Okay, this is an unstable system. Let me take that system as system 3. The numerator coefficients are 1, 6, that is 1.0, 6.0, and the denominators are 1128. This is the transfer function representation of this system designated as system 3. So when I take this step response signal dot step of the system 3, I get the time and y, and when I plot it, you find here from 0 it is oscillating, and you find that it has a tendency to increase to infinity as the time progresses, representing an unstable system. So for the same system, let me get the impulse response and see how it will look. So even impulse response is giving the tendency that the output is going to infinity as time tends to infinity, and hence this is an unstable system. Okay, so this is about giving the system in the form of transfer function with numerator and denominator coefficient. Suppose if the transfer function is in the form of pole 0 gain form, then we can make use of that form itself directly instead of taking the product and getting the coefficients of various s terms. So we construct this linear time variant systems by giving the zeros and poles and also gain. Okay, so this is of the form the signal dot LTI. So this is the sub package linear time invariant system in this pole 0 form. So first array represents the array of zeros, second one represents the array of poles, and the third one represents the gain of the system. Okay, so zeros at 1 and 2, poles at -2 and -3. So this is system 1. Take the step response and impulse response for that. So let me execute this. So the system 1 is 0 pole gain, and it is a continuous system having these arrays, and dt is not given, so it is none. And take the step response of this. You find here that the step response starts with 5 because the gain is 5, and it is oscillating and then finally settling to 1 with some steady state error. Okay, so it is not going to 1 exactly, instead it settled near to 1. And similarly for the same problem using the impulse response of the system. So this is again with the same system. Impulse response is, so initially due to the impulse it has got some gain of -40, and then finally it is settling to 0 because the impulse once it appears momentarily and disappears. So this is settling to 0. Both are stable systems. So this is the thing about the step response and impulse response, and now to assess the stability of the system. Okay, so next let us take the Fourier transform. So to find the Fourier transform of a signal, so we shall import NumPy. See, we can do it using either NumPy or SciPy. So I'll demonstrate both using NumPy A50 package and SciPy A50 package. Okay. So first let me take the Fourier transform of a sinusoidal signal using NumPy package with numpy.f50.a50. Okay. So I'm importing NumPy as NP, and here first I'm considering a sinusoidal signal y is equal to 1 into np dot sine of 2 pi f naught t. Okay, this is the signal that I'm considering with f naught is equal to 100. Okay, so its frequency is 100. So let me sample it at a frequency given by this 50,000, 5,000, and the time interval for this frequency is given by 1 over fs. Okay, and capital N is integer part of this fs by f naught. So f naught is the frequency present in the signal, and divide the sampling frequency by this f naught, then you will know how many number of samples are there in the signal. Okay. Then let us generate a time axis in the form of linear space between 0 to capital N, which that is capital N is this total number of samples, with a sampling time between adjacent samples given by n minus 1 into t step. Okay, so that is how we construct the time axis given by this. Then for frequency interval is given by sampling frequency divided by total number of points in the one cycle that we are considering here. Okay, so that is frequency step. Again we are dividing from 0 to capital N in steps of n minus 1 into f step, and generating the frequency scale for the FFT waveform. This is the frequency step using this lin space arrangement. Okay, np dot linear space from 0 to capital N in steps of n minus 1 into f step. Okay, and then this is the signal that I am taking to find the FFT of it. To find the FFT of this signal, I am using a FFT package, FFT function from NP, that is NumPy. So that is given by np.fft.fft, and then the signal whose FFT you want to find. So this capital X will return a complex array consisting of FFT of each of the points in this signal Y, which we are sampling at this 0 to capital N in steps of this. Okay, so I need only the magnitude plot, so I'm designating the magnitude as x underscore mag, then np dot absolute value of this capital X, and normalizing it with the total number of points np absolute by capital N. Okay, so up to this the point is clear. Then these three steps are required so that, see, what is the plot of FFT? On the x-axis, we will have the frequency components given by k. K is equal to 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. Our k is equal to 0 represents the DC value of the signal, and k is equal to 1. I want it to represent 1 as the fundamental frequency, 2 as the second harmonic, 3 as the third harmonic, like that. Okay. Or values on the x-axis, I want to represent the frequency in hertz, and the y-axis the magnitude of the signal that is given at the particular frequency of interest. What is the magnitude? So to adjust the x points, that is the frequency points, and you know that when we take the FFT, we get after half of the frequency, it is the mirror image of the first half. You have seen this in your DSP classes. So I'm interested in only first half of the frequency. So I'm taking f underscore plot. For plotting the frequency, I'm designating it as f underscore plot from this f I have defined here linear space from 0 to capital N is the total number of points in this step, but I want only half of that. That is why I'm taking n by 2 plus 1 and the integer part of it. So from 0 to integer part of n by 2 plus 1 will give me half of the frequency, and I can plot the graph only for half of that. And then the magnitude, I have to adjust it. So x underscore magnitude for plotting purpose, this is 2 times x underscore mag from 0 to half of the frequency. Okay. And if you want the magnitude to represent the true value of the signal, then you just have to divide the first, see this x will have both magnitude and phase angle. So take only the magnitude part of it and divide by 2 to get the magnitude for plotting purpose. So these three lines you should remember. If you don't make these corrections, the frequency that you get will be different from what you expect, and also the magnitude will not be the correct value. So whenever you use this package np.a50, you have to do these corrections. Okay, these are important steps you should remember. Then I'll plot the two graphs. One is the original signal t comma y. The second one is the FFT signal magnitude f underscore plot versus x mag plot. Okay. So if I run this, NP is not defined because I did not run this first cell. Okay. So now you see this is my first signal, that is 2 pi f naught t. Since I have taken 100 hertz, the time interval for one cycle is 10 milliseconds, that is given here, up to 0.01. And at 100 hertz, you have the magnitude in the FFT plot as equal to 1. Okay, so this is corresponding to 100 hertz. I can give that magic command matplotlib matplotlib dash notebook will give me an interactive plot. So where I can measure this value here. So you see here, this is x value is around 100, y is see at 96, 0.996. Here on the right bottom corner, I get the x and y coordinates of the cursor wherever I move. So this is at 100 hertz y. So if you want to make a more exact measurement, you just enlarge this. So now you see here 99.4. So exactly if you place it, the y value is 1, indicating that this is the FFT. At frequency 100, you have the magnitude is equal to 1. Okay. That is about using FFT package from NumPy. Next, FFT package from SciPy. No, same signal. I'm making some changes to this signal. I will add one more sinusoidal signal of a different frequency. So this is my original signal. 1 into NP into sine of 2 pi f naught t is the original signal. To that I'll add one more sinusoidal signal with amplitude 3 and frequency given by 4 times f naught. Okay. So if I add these two, I get a different signal other than the sinusoidal. And if I do the same FFT process and plot it, let me see, I must get this FFT plot peak at two frequencies, one at f naught, other at 4 times f naught. So yeah, my f naught is 100. So two peaks I'll get at 100 hertz and 400 hertz. So you see here. So this is at 100 hertz. See, x92, y is 1.01. The amplitude is 1. And at 400 hertz, it is 3 as expected. Okay. So to this, suppose if I add a DC value also. suppose if I add a DC value also plus 2, let us say, then what I should expect? I should expect a peak at frequency 0, that is the DC of value 2. So you see here, at f is equal to 0, FFT value is 2. At f is equal to 100, let me zoom this much. At f is equal to 100, I have the magnitude 1, and if f is equal to 0, that is DC, I have magnitude 2. And at 400, let me enlarge this. At 400, I have the magnitude 3. Okay. So this is how we find the FFT using NumPy package. Okay. Next, FFT using SciPy package. So sub package is FFT package. Go to this documentation. So scipy.fft.fft, and first argument is the signal whose FFT you want to find, and then all the remainings you can neglect and leave them at default at this point. Then later on you can explore, understand what each of these and try to use in case you need to use it. Okay. So import scipy as scipy, and from scipy.fft import FFT. Now decide the number of points. So here I am taking two sinusoidal signals. One is frequency 50, the other one is frequency 80. 2 pi f into the time axis I have represented by x here, which you can change to t if you want. And then so yf is the FFT of the signal y given by scipy.fft.fft, the signal y. So this will give me the FFT of this. To plot the FFT, I am generating one more time axis, frequency axis given by xf in as the linear space between 0 to integer part of n by n/2. Okay. So this gives me whatever n I have chosen divided by 2, and one considers only the integer part by truncating the floater. Okay. With the with the frequency step given by 1 divided by 2 times the capital T, where capital T is 1 over the number of samples points that I am taking. Okay, this is termed as the sample spacing. Okay, followed? And x-axis for the original signal is given by 0 to capital N with the step of n into capital T. Capital T is the sample spacing. Okay. So each the distance between two adjacent points is n into capital T. So you take the time step as this up to capital N and form the x-axis for time, and this is the x-axis for the frequency. And next plot this xf, that is the x-axis, and y-axis, whatever the FFT that I have got, which is going to be complex, take the absolute value of it and plot it only up to half of the frequency and multiply by 2 divided by n to make the corrections. Okay. And then plot the grid and show plot. So now I said I have two frequencies. One is 50 and the other one is 80. At 50 the magnitude is 1 and at 80 the magnitude is 0.5. So this is what. So at 50 it is clear. At 80, let me enlarge this. Okay, so 80 comes at the middle of this and the peak value is 0.5. Followed? Okay, so that is about using FFT function from the SciPy subpackage scipy.fft. Any doubts?
No.
No? Any doubt in previous part? I did not ask. SciPy package. Any doubts? Or stepward impulse responses?